taking three.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we have the maiden voyage of the Hindenburg. Yes, I was really looking forward to this battle anyway. I really figured, obviously, that this being, the maiden voyage and all, that this was going to be a shit show, but it turned out decent, I suppose. Anyway, just getting some glory shots here of the Hindenburg. Now, I am in love with this ship instantly. I mean, I was in love with the ship before I even took her out, so a little bit of a bias here, but it did not disappoint. This battle isn't very exciting, I'll tell you that up front. Mostly because, not exciting from my perspective, because, the first game in this ship, I didn't want to die. I figured it was going to happen, but I didn't want to die, and, let's play it a little cautiously here. Now, one of the biggest things that obviously I enjoy about the Hindenburg is the range, the firing range. Now, right now, I have all of the modules bought for her except the last one. Now, the last one would be the detection, or the increase in your concealment. Whatever, the last one I'm talking about, the increase in your concealment, or like the increase in range for your target acquisition, one of those. I just have to buy that one and then it's all done. But you can see down, I noticed as soon as I loaded in the battle, I had forgotten to take all premium consumables on my ship. Yeah, specifically the repair, that would have been the one to have, as opposed to, say, the acoustic sonar and the fighter. But whatever. Now, I did end up transferring over the captain from my rune over here to the Hindenburg, and then I basically just transferred every German cruiser captain I had up one ship until I got to the Edmund, and then just left the Edmund where she is because it's a premium ship. But whatever. So I basically did that. So at this point in time as well, my commander is not retrained, so we're not going to actually see, the little situational awareness alert there when I get spotted. But again, I really do enjoy the new improvements to the game, right? Specifically the minimap improvement there, where I actually do get to see, when can enemy ships spot me just by glancing at the minimap, as opposed to having to look at each individual ship and checking out what they're how far away they are from me. Oh god. Anyway. So on the Atlantic, I mean, I did decide to go towards the south. I mean, this was a pretty crazy battle because there were a lot of battleships, right? A lot of battleships. We can see that. I think someone in chat typed over 9,000 points in battleships in this one game right now. So I was going to go to the south with the majority of my other battleships and stick around with these guys. And that's something instantly that I started really liking about the Hindenburg right off the bat, was that, I can basically stay with the battleships, back with the battleships, and still keep most enemies in range and do decent damage. Now, I found that in this game. Obviously, I need to, use the Hindenburg more to figure it out a little better. But after playing this game, sure, the ship can fire 20 kilometers out, but it's not as effective, obviously, as if I'm shooting at something that's maybe 15 or 16 kilometers away. So, it's kind of the same situation when you're in a battleship. You can shoot 21 kilometers, whatever the maximum range is, but how accurate are those shots going to be, right? How much damage are those shots actually going to do at that distance? So you got to kind of play it by ear, I guess, and play the two sides when you can and as you can. So that's sort of what I've taken away just by playing. I played two battles in the Hindenburg now, but just by playing this one battle, that's sort of what I've taken away. Because you will see that the majority of the time in this battle, I do stay fairly far away from my targets, and a lot of the damage, the low damage that I'm doing, is attributed to that, basically, because you can see my shots will go in and then maybe they bounce off the enemy ship, they don't hit at all, or I'm not getting consistent good damage rolls here, and I believe it does have something to do, or has a large part to do here with the range that is happening. Now, that being said as well, the range is great, but I also need to focus in on my shells, right? Because every ship I do find fires a little differently. You need to aim at different places at the enemy ship when you're in certain ships, right? So still learning that out with the Hindenburg here as well, and then it also plays into the low damage rolls and the bounces that I've been getting and whatnot. But still, very, very pleased. plus the Hindenburg looks spectacular. Now, is it the sexiest ship in the game? It's close. It is close. I mean, in my opinion, it's between the Hindenburg and the old Amagi, but which one is the better looking? I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. I'd be curious to know what you guys think in terms of the best looking ship in the game. You know, what you guys think the best looking ship is. Because I gotta say, I do really love the German cruisers, the way that they look. Starting right at the Admiral Hipper. The York does look pretty cool, but still small, right? A little small. Where once you get to the Hipper, the cruiser comes a little bigger, and I do start enjoying the way they look a whole lot more. Anyway, we do have some enemy battleships over here off in the distance, so you can see they're angled against me, and I was kind of figuring out which one I wanted to shoot at. And again, I'm not willing to push beyond my battleships. I mean, I did say, yeah, I'm playing this game awfully cautiously, and I am. I definitely am. But it played to my advantage here, obviously, too, right? And it's to my advantage to play cautiously in this specific game because of all the battleships on the enemy team. I don't want to go off on my own or off with a few ships that aren't battleships, because most likely I'm going to come across enemy battleships, and it's going to be a shit show. I mean, most likely I'm probably going to be able to duke it out with them and do some good damage and take maybe a few out, but it's just not something I want to do. And I mean, up until this point, too, in the battle, or till now anyway, I haven't taken any damage at all, which is fantastic. I was really concerned and figured while I was waiting to get into the battle that I would become a center of attention for a lot of these enemy ships, considering I'm one of the tier 10s in the battle. I'm in a Hindenburg. I figured that the Yamatos would be gunning for me, but so far I'm getting by pretty good. And it has a lot to do with the passive play that I'm doing right now. I mean, you can see on the minimap, right? I've got the group of battleships around me, and basically this entire game I'm just going to be staying with this group of battleships, helping these guys out. I mean, whatever they shoot at, that's what I'm going to shoot at. I'm going to try and cover them and all that lovely stuff, right? That is what I'm doing. And it is kind of working out, because you can see off in the distance, too. I mean, the enemy battleships I have over there, they now have the choice of, do they want to take on the Zumo, who's right here in front of me, or another one of the battleships that I have nearby, or do they want to shoot at me, right? Now, the battleships are doing a lot more damage right now than I am, so the enemies are more inclined to shoot me, or to shoot my friendly battleships rather than me. Anyway, we have this enemy Montana, the same enemy Montana from the beginning. I thought that salvo was pretty good, and I figured I was going to do some damage there. No. It's a tier 10 battleship, Thotgor, come on. So just bounced off of them there. We've got the North Carolina there off in the distance, so we put a few shots into the North Carolina. I got to see some of the AA ability here on my Hindenburg. Now, with my modules for my Hindenburg, I did not spec it out as an AA cruiser. I did not do that, and it might be controversial to some, I don't know, but I put all of my concentration and focus into the main batteries of the ship to make those better, to make them more durable, make them faster. That is where I put all of my that's all the consumables, or sorry, all the modules that I bought. That's what I bought them for. Wasn't so concerned about the AA ability. The AA ability on the Hindenburg is good, don't get me wrong, it is good, but I just don't like having I guess I just don't like putting all of my eggs into that one AA basket. I'd rather put them all into my main guns, which to me just makes more sense because they're my main armament, and have my AA as a secondary. That being said, I mean, I think it would change entirely if I was in an American cruiser. And I have actually unlocked my tier 7 Russian cruiser, the Chapiev, I believe it's called. I just don't have the credits to buy it yet. And with my Russian cruisers, I've been looking at those as well, and trying to figure out what I want to do my captains with. And I'm still thinking about it, but we'll see. Anyway, back to the Hindenburg. You can see so far this battle, right? Haven't done a whole lot of damage. Haven't taken any damage either, that's good, but I haven't done a whole lot of damage. I did manage to get a few hits, and I did shoot down a few planes, and that's decent, but I mean, I do want to kind of start getting myself into the battle now, and in fact, you do see that I've worked my way to the rear of the group of friendly ships that I'm with, and I'm picking off, or well, trying to do some damage, like picking up, but I'm trying to do some damage to some of the enemy ships that are on their way down south. And then, I see these enemies up here in the north. Now, we do have a tier 9 Russian cruiser, that's this ship here that I'm firing at. I don't actually come across high tier Russian cruisers very often. I don't know if people don't enjoy playing them, or what's going on there, but I don't often come across them. So I did struggle a little on this. I forget what it's called. It's a tier 9 Russian cruiser. I forget what it's called, but anyway, I struggled a little to just actually get my range on this guy because I wasn't sure where to actually fire, like how much to lead the ship. You can see in the second salvo I did kind of figure it out, but we have bigger fish to fry now. I mean, I do have 2 allies, well, kind of 3 allies up there in the north who are kind of taking care of these guys, and I'm still pretty concerned with the enemies to the south, but I mean, these guys over here are now giving me some broadsides, so I'm gonna, jump around to targets here and take whatever shots I can get off for whatever broadsides that are presented to me. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, the reload speed on the Hindenburg is amazing. I have no complaints about it. I think this is fantastic. And it's actually not rekindled my love for playing tier 10s. I do really enjoy playing tier 10s, but I don't play them very often because I'm always busy on my next ship, saving up for the next thing, and I don't want to waste all this money in this one battle that could go wrong because my team is a bunch of idiots. So that's generally why I don't play tier 10s as often, but this definitely rekindled my desire to play more tier 10s, right? Just swap between the Hindenburg and the Zao, just play that all day. And something else that I was actually quite pleased with the Hindenburg was the maneuverability of the ship. I was afraid that maybe the Hindenburg would lose maneuverability because it's at tier 10, and maybe Wargaming would want to balance that out a little. Or not saying that it's overpowered or overmaneuvered or anything like that, but just happy to see that the ship is still maneuverable to the extent that I'm pleased with it. Obviously not as maneuverable as your Admiral Hipper. She's not going to turn on a dime like that Admiral Hipper, but I find that she's doesn't feel like a long ship. If you've played a lot of Japanese cruisers, you know what I mean by it, like the ship feeling like a long ship. It kind of takes wide turning radiuses when it makes a wide turning radius when it does make a turn, and the Hindenburg, it's a little better than that. So was quite happy with that. I would have been happy with it otherwise, or either way, to be honest, but I wasn't too disappointed with it at all. So you can see I did get some damage dealt to me here. We came under attack from the air, but we're doing pretty good. I was actually quite surprised with the amount of damage that these dive bombers were managing to do. I mean, it is a tier 10 aircraft carrier, right? And it is an American tier 10 aircraft carrier. That's important, because nowadays with aircraft carriers, obviously I don't have an aircraft carrier, so correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you would play an American aircraft carrier if you want to have fairly strong, if not really strong, dive bomber squadrons and burn enemy ships to death, basically. Or if you want to torpedo enemy ships, then you would go Japanese aircraft carriers because they have better torpedo squadrons. At least that's my current understanding. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously. So I mean, finally I do, over time, managed to gradually do a bit more damage. We can see slowly on the damage counter I've made my way to the black. We're in the red now. Another thing though that I was quite happy, and I'll point it out at the end of the video, is the amount of damage that I finished with and what color it was. I was pretty happy and pleased to see that, because it tells me a lot about the ship, actually. So we have the North Carolina over there, basically at a stop because of all the torpedo attacks that just came in on the player here. So I've got some shots going in, but we can see obviously the North Carolina is continuing forward at this time, so I'm going to try and get some more out. On the Rune, I know on the Rune, right, we have the 3 main turrets, only 1 on the front, and it really isn't that big of a deal, but you definitely do notice having that extra turret on the front. It's just opens up more options for you, because in the Rune, if I want to go narrow onto someone so I'm not giving a broadside, right, I would turn away so that my stern is facing towards them so that I can still fire 2 turrets at that player. I don't have to worry about that now in the Hindenburg. I can just turn wherever I want, whether I want it to be my bow on or my stern on. I'll always still have 50% of my guns pointed at target, assuming I don't get any turrets knocked out. But yeah. So there's that, so that's really nice as well. Not to take away from the Rune, though, obviously. I'm sure my love for the Rune is pretty well known at this point in time, but, just thought I'd mention it anyway. But the Hindenburg, I mean, it was a long time coming for me. Long time coming. I've been working on this thing for a while, and I'm just so glad to finally have it. It's pretty spectacular. I'm pretty pleased with it so far, like I had mentioned, and if you can't already tell, pretty pleased with it. I mean, you do get the standard German torpedoes at 6 kilometers on the Hindenburg as well. You get 2 sets on the either side of the ship, port and starboard, which is nice as well. It gives you that option of maybe firing one torpedo at the lead and then maybe another torpedo spread at where the enemy ship might be if it were to take evasive maneuver against your first spread, right? So that there's that's nice as well. And I do really enjoy having torpedoes on my cruisers. It just opens up a whole new world of possibility. And actually, that's one of my major criticisms of the American cruisers, is that they don't have torpedoes. I know the Atlanta does, but yeah, it's a premium at tier 7. It's just one of them. So it just I just find it limiting in that regard. We can see the enemies only have 3 enemy ships remaining. We have this Russian cruiser here in front of us, who is about to die, by the way. But then we also have a battleship and the enemy Essex, the aircraft carrier. That's not a battleship at all. That's the Chapiev, so that's the tier 7 Russian cruiser. Actually, it's going to be the next cruiser that I purchase. I'm going to sell the Buddy. I've thought about it, and I am going to sell the Buddy. I'm not going to keep it at tier 6. I know I mentioned that I was going to sell it, but I still kind of thought about it. But yeah, we're going to get rid of the Buddy, and I'm just going to purchase the tier 7, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to keep this tier 7 Russian cruiser. What was kind of disappointing right here at the end was, let's take a look at the Essex. Yeah, he's not even doing anything. Basically, he gave up. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, take a look at the damage number, right? I'm about 53,000 that I've seen damage dealt that I've seen, and it's yellow. Now, why I like this, that it's yellow, means that this is a pretty low damage roll, pretty low damage result here for the Hindenburg, and that is fantastic. What that tells me is that the ship is capable of so much more damage, and it's just phenomenal that it's finally in my port and I can use it. Right now, not whenever I want, because credits are still an issue, but I can still use it. And it's great. Anyway, I finished with about 260,000 credits, and you can see not a bad maiden voyage, right? Much better than a lot of the other maiden voyages where I basically go out and die in the first 5 minutes. This one I actually managed to survive and walked away with credits. Look at that, 122,000 credits made, so that's not too bad at all. Anyway, really enjoying the Hindenburg. I'm actually really also enjoying the new challenges they have for get the tier 2 Japanese battleship, right? That is going to be fun. Basically 150 kills by the end of July and you'll get the ship, so looking forward to that as well. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you were not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.